Howdy. My name is Nonat, and I don't usually do this. I haven't done this in a lot of months, and I wasn't gonna do this. But I started watching a specific video that came out today, and after about a minute I realized, oh no, I gotta do this. It's been brought to my attention recently that Dungeon Craft, the YouTube channel with roughly 70,000 subscribers, well done by the way, recently made a video called Pathfinder in Trouble, Will Wizards Buy Paizo? This is an episode of a long-going news series where they just talk about different things D&D and roleplay related, and this one was brought to my attention by multiple people before I had even heard of it existed. I've never watched Dungeon Craft, I don't know them personally, so I'm not going to make any comments on the matter. What I am going to do is react to this 9-minute long video for you guys in the audience. I want to state this right up front. I'm not mad. Yet? I hope I don't get mad. There was a comment about a minute in that I felt like I needed to not contradict, but argue the point. And I'm curious to see what the rest of the video comes to. Regardless of my opinion on this video, if you look like you like Dungeon Craft's content, please do go check them out, subscribe to them, and watch some of their videos if it seems appealing to you. So without further ado, let's get into watching Pathfinder in Trouble.
Is Pathfinder struggling, and will Wizards of the Coast buy Paizo?
Probably
Today
not.
On Dungeon Craft.
I do like the minis in the intro.
Welcome to
I need more
Dungeon Craft.
minis.
I'm Professor Dungeon Master, and this
Hi,
channel
Professor
is about
Dungeon
playing
Master.
the ultimate game of D&D and other tabletop role-playing games.
And I'm Deathbringer. Level up your game by subscribing and click the bell icon to be informed as soon as we upload new content.
I want to make it clear, I love Paizo. I love my Goblin
Me too.
Piggy Bank, Weeby Goblins, and
I would
my
kill for that.
plot twist and critical hit cards. Paizo has done a fantastic job of recognizing what players and game masters want and providing it for them.
Remember that sentence. Paizo has done an amazing job of seeing what their players and GMs want and giving that to them. Keep that in mind.
I'm a big fan, but I don't think there's any question that Pathfinder 2.0 has lost market share to D&D 5e.
This is, obvious. Of course they have. The last 3 years have been the biggest years in D&D's life, with Critical Role for more than just the 3 years, but especially with TTRPGs joining the mainstream so heavily. Yeah, absolutely this is D&D's biggest year, and there's no way Paizo could hope to keep up with that, because D&D is the #1. That's like saying DreamWorks lost market share to Disney. Of course they did. It's Disney. DreamWorks isn't bad, DreamWorks isn't struggling, but it's comparing a contender to the top dog. And I feel like that's a very unfair comparison. I've made a video about that. Check it out in the corner if you want to watch it. It's a comparison everyone makes, but I do still think it is an unfair comparison, especially when you're talking marketing metrics.
I recently came across an intriguing episode of Tenkar's Tavern, a channel that focuses on OSR gaming, and he has a knack for analyzing data and predicting trends. In May,
I haven't seen
Tenkar
Tenkar's
pointed
Tavern,
out
so I
that
can't
on
say
Humble
that.
Bundle for just $5, you could get a PDF of the Pathfinder core rulebook, the
You sure
Character
could. That's
Pack,
over now.
Extinction Curse
But,
Adventure
yeah.
Path, 2 quest anthologies for PDF, Game Mastery Guide, Lost Omen setting, and more. And for $35,
Fantastic deal.
you
They
could
did that
get a
last year too, and it was
hardback copy
amazing.
Of the Pathfinder Bestiary.
That's where I got my
In
physical
addition
core
to
rulebook.
all this stuff. That's a book that goes for $37 on Amazon.
Yeah, no, for that $35, you're getting $70, $80 worth of stuff more, I think. So then you got the first of Extinction Curse, a core rulebook PDF, which is $15 by itself. Yeah, $10 for the Extinction Curse PDF. The quests are usually $5 each, and the physical copy of the Bestiary for $35. That's insane.
Pathfinder 2.0 was released in the summer of 2019, but just 1 year later, they were offering the core rulebook on Humble Bundle for just $25.
They sure were.
These are the moves of a company that's trying to get traction for their flagship product.
This is the line that made me pause the video and turn on the camera. This is the move of a company trying to get traction for their flagship product. I'm not going to say no to that. Obviously it's good for traction, but I firmly believe strong enough in Paizo that this move wasn't a, here, take our product for free, just talk about us. No, this is a, we want you to experience our product. And my point of reasoning behind this is Archives of Nethys. That's been free since the game's launch. Paizo is not about the money. Sure, they need to make money. They still need to sell things, pay their employees a living wage, and exist as a company. But they exist because they want people to play their game. They want to share their product. They want to share this world, especially more so now than ever with the whole Lost Omens line of lore books. They want to share these stories, the world of Galarian, everything with you, not to get your money, but to let you enjoy the system. I'm just gonna say there's a big difference between D&D Beyond and Archives of Nethys.
Flagship product in an attempt to regain market share. Tenkar also points out if you are on Roll20, you'll notice that Pathfinder 1 and 2 have an only 5% market share of the players there, down from Pathfinder's peak of 20% just a few years ago.
That's because, I'll be repeating myself, but that's because 5e skyrocketed in the last 3 years. 5e has done incredibly well for itself in the last few years, and like the system or not, you can't deny that. There's more new players joining the game now than ever before, and that's fantastic. And sure, you can read that as, wow, Paizo went down 15%, but I don't agree with that. I believe that is D&D skyrocketed a certain amount of percent that simply shrank Paizo's perspective player base percentage. I don't think the number of Pathfinder players changed. I do think it's increased, but I believe the number of 5e D&D players, especially on Roll20 and other virtual tabletops, have increased far faster and far greater. So even though the number of Pathfinder players has increased, the percentage out of 100 has decreased.
Call of Cthulhu actually enjoys a wider following than Pathfinder 2.
Call of Cthulhu is great. I love Call of Cthulhu.
So how did we get here? Well, we're going to go back and look at the history of Paizo and examine the facts. In 2001, Wizards of the Coast founder Peter Atkinson left the company with $300 million and Gen Con, and Hasbro subcontracted Dungeon & Dragon magazine.
Yeah, Dragon magazine. I need to get some of these and read them. I've always wanted to read Dragon magazine.
By Lisa Stevens, Vic Wertz, and Johnny Wilson to take over the publication of Dungeon & Dragon, and they did it for 5 years. In 2008, WotC released the D&D 4th edition, and I'm sorry if you're a fan, but just the fact is, it was not well received.
Not well, okay, I'm glad he said not well received. I was worried he was about to say not well written, but no, he can, yeah, absolutely not well received, which is unfortunate. I want to play 4th edition. I've never gotten to. I've heard it's slow. I've only heard people talk about it. I've never gotten to play it myself, and I kind of want to, especially now that I've played and loved Pathfinder 2e for over a year. I would love to see this system that people constantly compare to Pathfinder 2e.
Picking up on that, Paizo released Pathfinder, which was essentially D&D 3.75. And all the unused stuff from Dungeon & Dragon magazine, they put it out as their adventure paths. I was at Gen Con in 2008-2009 when Hasbro rolled out 4E. And at one point, they took up the entire Sagamore Ballroom, which is the largest ballroom at Gen Con. It was just filled with hundreds of people playing 4th edition. Then I skipped one Gen Con, and when I came back, it was all gone, replaced by Pathfinder.
That was Pathfinder's peak, yeah. When D&D took the risk, when Wizards Hasbro took the risk to change the formula to 4E to be a little bit more combat focused, people were definitely not super into it. And Paizo did the super smart thing, and they were like, ooh, people want to play more 3.5, let's just keep making 3.5, but not call it 3.5 and make it our own thing. And that was a really smart move. It was a lot of fun. They knew, again, let's go back to it, they knew what players wanted, and they gave it to them, which is Paizo's what they've always been good at. Still are to this day.
And Paizo. Stephen Colbert on his show even debated with, I forget it was Matt Mercer or Joe Manganiello, as to whether he should play Pathfinder or 4E. Pathfinder's ascendancy continued for several years, but they made one critical mistake.
We don't talk about the Pathfinder MMO. We don't talk about the Pathfinder MMO.
And the company failed to deliver. Then in 2015,
I don't know if it's the same MMO they're talking about. Maybe I'll make a video on it someday. But if you didn't know, there is a Pathfinder MMORPG, and it sure does exist.
Wizards of the Coast released the D&D 5th edition, a juggernaut that was more of a spiritual successor to the 3rd edition.
as much of a spiritual successor as 2nd is to 1st and 3rd is to 2nd edition, you know? It's quite different than 3.5, actually. It's about as different from 3.5 as 2e is from 5e. The big similarity is the action system, but other than that, character design, character leveling, all of that works incredibly different in 5th edition than 3.5. I don't know where the line is drawn on spiritual successors. That's sort of a blurry line that can be sort of almost an umbrella term. I always think of a spiritual successor as made by a different company. You know, I would call Pathfinder the spiritual successor to D&D 3.5. But unless it's a spin-off, I don't think a company can make their own spiritual successor. I think it's just a successor.
It's streamlined play.
Also, sorry I keep pausing, but that's sort of what reaction videos are for. 5e was good when it came out, but it wasn't the biggest thing. You know, when I was first getting into TTRPGs, I didn't know anyone. I think I knew one person in college who played 5th edition. Everyone else played 3.5 or Pathfinder, and like 2 people played 4th edition. 5e did not come into its own for a year or two, and then eventually it hit its stride and really started rolling. It still is rolling to this day. Wizards is going to ride that money bag down the mountain until it stops moving. But he said, you know, it's a juggernaut that came out. It didn't really come out as a juggernaut, at least not in my experience. I could be wrong. I'm not speaking from research marketing metrics or sales metrics or anything like that. I'm speaking from personal experience of people I know, people I knew, and interactions I've had.
And made the game more accessible to newcomers.
That's absolutely true.
In 2016, Paizo released Starfinder.
Still need to play Starfinder.
Which, according to everyone
really want to play it.
Who have played it, it's an excellent game. But science fiction games have never enjoyed the same popularity as fantasy games when it comes to tabletop
I don't know what that
RPGs.
Is.
In 2019, Paizo released Pathfinder 2.0 to long lines at Gen Con, but I think it's fair to say reaction was mixed. You had one group of players who didn't think Pathfinder needed a new edition.
I get those people in my comment section. I'm just gonna leave this comment on the screen for a second so you can read it. I love those people. If you're watching this video right now, I love you. I want you to know you make me laugh so hard. Anyway, let's move on.
Another group felt that Pathfinder 2.0 was too similar to 5e.
Did they just say Pathfinder 2 is... Say that again?
Another group felt that Pathfinder 2.0 was too similar to 5e.
Who is saying Pathfinder 2 is similar to 5th edition? I've seen people compare them, but like that's just because they're 2 fantasy games that use the same base stats. That's like saying 1st edition D&D is similar to Pathfinder 2e because they both use the 6 ability scores. No. Like, I would like to contest. Objection? No, they are not similar enough to make that claim. You know, you can say, oh, they both have armor class. Okay, cool. Call of Cthulhu has hit points, so it's similar to D&D. Sorry, I'm getting kind of heated. I'm not mad, I'm just heated.
Cody on Taking 20 came out and said as much recently. And in 2020, just a year after release, we see the first Pathfinder Humble Bundle with the core rulebook being given away at $25. In 2021,
freaking amazing.
Wizards of the Coast had their best year ever, racking up over $800 million in sales compared to Paizo's $24 million. And recently,
that doesn't surprise me.
Pathfinder designers jumped ship and went to Wizards of the Coast to design 5e products. Now let me address popular criticisms.
They probably pay
First,
better.
That Humble Bundle is...
Like, I would not describe it as jumping ship. I highly doubt they were like, oh, Paizo's a sinking ship. I want to go over there. No, it's probably, hey, Wizards offered me a better paycheck, so I'm going to go work for them. Thanks, because Wizards is doing amazing, and they need to keep up with Pathfinder's insane product. Now, again, I'm speaking from speculation. I want to preface that none of this is like super research. This is a reaction. But the way he's describing it is that these developers were like, no, Paizo's going down. I can't be a part of this, and jumped ship. And I don't think that's a fair explanation.
A charity, and Paizo has given to them before. Part of Humble Bundle goes to charity,
absolutely,
but most of it goes to the company. And yes, Paizo has done it before.
That's a fact.
When they gave away their core rulebook last year. You don't see Wizards of the Coast giving away their core rulebooks for those low...
You sure don't. You see them charging $30 on D&D Beyond to get digital access and no PDF.
Books for those low prices. Second, Pathfinder players aren't on Roll20. Tegar points out
that's
that
true. They are more on
platforms
Foundry.
do not have anywhere close to the reach or the market share of Roll20. Fantasy Grounds isn't even close. So the idea that Pathfinder players are playing in some sort of secret hidden location...
Oh, I got a stitch. Oh, I got a stitch. Ow, 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 ow. Oh, cut this out, cut this out. Ow. Guys, don't tell the D&D folks that we're playing on Foundry and Tailspire. It's a secret location. Shh. I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't know Dungeon Craft. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just making fun of that statement. That got me. Oh my God, that hurts. I have not gotten a stitch like that in so long. Ow. Oh. Anyway. Oh, ow, stretch.
I'm highly skeptical. Third, it's COVID. Yes, COVID affected a lot of businesses, but Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast isn't one of them. If anything, it made Dungeons & Dragons more popular. More people are playing D&D than ever before in history.
Same for Pathfinder.
Now, it is true, they have...
You can't say, oh, Roll20 dropped in percentage of players, so that means less players. No, it's probably more players, but it's been squashed by D&D's success. Again, I'm not denying D&D's success. It's explosive. I think these people are not correlating how percentages work. That 20% can easily become 5%. Even if Paizo doubled its player base, if D&D quadrupled it or septupled it, yeah, that's going to squash that percentage.
Have the most popular IP, Dungeons & Dragons. It's ubiquitous. It's to RPGs what Coca-Cola is to soft drinks.
Unfortunately.
And they don't really need to attend conventions. As a matter of fact, I'm predicting that Hasbro may never return to Origins because they don't need to build buzz for a product.
And that's really sad, because getting to interact with the brand is one of my favorite parts of Paizo, of indie video game developers. I love that face-to-face interaction, even if it's just employees. You know, a couple of your writers, a couple of devs go to the convention and host a panel. That's cool, because we get to see the people, not the faceless machine pumping out content.
That is so dominant on the shelf space. Meanwhile, Paizo does have to attend conventions, in my opinion.
They love it, and we love it.
Build buzz for their products. And there's
so Dungeon Craft. I'm sure you're researched. I'm sure you're a studied guy, but you're looking at all of this from strictly a business perspective. This may shock some people, especially those metric marketing focused people, but Paizo likes their product. Paizo likes talking about their product. Paizo likes people playing their product, not for the money, but because they're proud of their product. They're not trying to sell another book. They're trying to tell another story.
There's no question that COVID's timing took some wind out of Paizo's sales. I'm sure what they had planned to do was follow up their 2019 Pathfinder release with a big release in 2020 and use Gen Con.
Which they did. The Advanced Player's Guide came out in 2020. Obviously, Gen Con wasn't as big as it would have been because it was online, but it was still hyped. Dude, you gotta spend more time on the Pathfinder subreddits. People are freaking hyped over there.
As the springboard to build hype, and that didn't happen. So these
yes, it did. It was online.
Maybe a way of trying to regain it by allowing people easy entrance, easy access into the game system so that they buy more products in the future. So what should Paizo do? Well, Tenkar recommends...
Again. Paizo gives them easy access, so they'll buy more. Like, no, that's a nice side effect. Sure, probably. I do. I love buying them. But I buy them to support them, and they give them out for free because they want people playing their game. Paizo could easily be doing a whole lot more if they wanted to be more money grubbing. If they wanted to be money grubbing, they would have given it away for free, not for cheap on Humble Bundle. You know, they would have just been like, here, Archives of Nethys, and also we're going to give away a bunch of physical copies for $5 each. No. Like, they're giving away free stuff that doesn't cost the company money. You know, PDFs That doesn't cost the company a cent. If they give away a PDF for free or for cheap on a Humble Bundle, that doesn't cost them anything. That's why the physical copies of the books still cost $35 or so on Humble Bundle if you want the physical bestiary or the physical core rulebook, because that costs the company money. But they just want people to be able to experience the game, and they know that money is a big limiting factor for a lot of people, especially during COVID. That's one thing they haven't even touched on here. COVID hurt a lot of people financially. People were surviving basically just off their stimulus checks for a while, if that. So having a free option to play because you couldn't afford the 5e core rulebook or anything, like even you imagine you can't afford D&D Beyond. You can't afford the core rulebook on D&D Beyond or any of the supplements, so you can't play. Just feels bad.
They convert their current Pathfinder adventure paths to 5e. That makes a lot of sense. It's how they started.
No, thanks.
Getting back to their roots. And it's a formula that Goodman Games has used. They produce Dungeon Crawl Classics, but they also produce 5e material with lots of success. Reinventing
I don't know what Dungeon Crawl Classics is, so I can't really talk on this.
Keep on the Borderlands, The Lost City, and the Temple of Elemental Evil.
I have seen those, though. The remakes of old adventures in 5e. That's really cool. I like that. And Paizo's actually starting to do that now with sort of with Ruby Phoenix. They're taking some older ones. I know they're working on Kingmaker, and I think Rise of the Rune Lords as well. I don't know if that one's official or not. But yeah, Paizo's bringing back some old PF1 adventures into 2e, and that's so cool. I'm actually playing my own personal conversion of the Emerald Spire right now. We just had our first session of that, and that's super fun, so I'm loving that.
Is for them to sell out to Wizards of the Coast. Ask yourself this: if you're Wizards of the Coast and you make $800 million a year, and your main competitor makes $24 million a year, you could easily acquire them, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Wizards bought TSR. Hasbro bought Wizards. Do you really think that these kind of mergers can't happen again?
I'm saying that Wizards probably has offered, and Paizo said no. We want our product. We are proud of our product. We are going to give our product to our people because we know if we give you Pathfinder, you're going to make Pathfinder Beyond and make people pay to use it.
Paizo has valuable assets, including their fantastic dry erase flip mats.
Oh, the flip mats are amazing.
Which I think are way cooler than D&D goblins. That's one thing
Absolutely
Wizards
true.
does not have. A cute
Yay.
mascot. Wizards will also acquire liabilities like pensions. Lisa Stevens, the founder of Paizo, is looking to retire. Wouldn't it be easier to retire if your pension
I want
were
to meet
backed
Lisa
by
really
Hasbro
bad. I
money?
really want to meet Lisa.
Both Paizo and Wizards are headquartered in King
You're
County,
so
Washington,
focused on
just a
money,
few miles
Dungeon
from
Craft.
each other.
It's not
I'm
just
sure
about the
employees
money.
Associate and fraternize with each other, and I'd be very surprised if people at the top level of management hadn't at least tossed around the idea of a merger at some point.
Oh, they absolutely
Of course,
have. I
in a
guarantee
merger,
it.
redundant staff positions are eliminated, which is why if you were working at Paizo, you might want to jump ship right now before that happened. Which, in the case of
But they
two
don't,
designers,
because they're
already
proud.
occurred.
Yeah, two designers.
Now, Paizo can still
Sure.
make a comeback. They're sitting on a gold mine of adventure path material that could easily be converted to 5e, and as 5e continues...
Why are you so convinced that converting to 5e is the only way? It's the only way Paizo could ever succeed. Why do you think Paizo isn't already successful? Why do you think their success needs to be measured in comparison to D&D's success? Why does Pathfinder need to be as big as D&D? Why does it need as many players to be successful? I counter that it does not, and that it is incredibly successful in its own right. Same way Call of Cthulhu is successful, and Shadowrun, and Cyberpunk, and City of Mist. They don't make whatever 800 million or whatever you said, but they're successful. They have their player base. They're paying their employees, and they love what they do. By your logic, why doesn't every single TTRPG in existence sell out to Wizards? Why don't they just give Wizards all of their games? Why should an indie company try to make a game if they can't be D&D? Because they're passionate about it, and they love their product. And they don't want to make $1 million. They just want to share their product with the world and make a living wage doing so. I relate to that heavily. That's sort of what I'm doing here. I'm not in this to make $1 billion, trillion YouTube dollars. I'm in this because I like making content. I like talking to the audience I've built and responding and reading their comments. And that's what I do this for the passion. I don't do this for the money. I do this because I love to do it. And I guarantee that so many TTRPG developers out there feel the exact same way.
Used to grow in popularity, Paizo can meet that demand. But none of this means Pathfinder is going away anytime soon. Lots
Sure
of
ain't.
other fantasy RPGs like RuneQuest and Warhammer enjoy enthusiastic fan bases and have remained in print for decades. It just means Pathfinder's popularity may have peaked. But that's what I think. What do you think? Share in the comments below. Also,
DungeonCraft, I've told you what I think, and I've told y'all what I think, and I guess it's your turn now. In the comments of this video, or in DungeonCraft's video, either one, let us know what you think. I want to hear the audience side of this. I'm sure I'm going to get some D&D fanboys. I'm sure I'm going to get some marketing fanboys who want to yell about Paizo's failures as a company. But, you know, I want to hear from your opinions. I want to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I don't do these reaction videos often, but this one seemed very important. You know, it wasn't about the rules. It wasn't about the system. It was about Paizo as a company. And I think of them like, I guess like a family member, you know? I feel like I want to defend them. I don't have to. I absolutely don't have to. That does nothing for me. I'm not sponsored by Paizo. They don't pay me or anything. But I love Pathfinder. I love Paizo, and I want to give a take on this opinion from a Pathfinder fan when it's clearly coming from a Wizards fan. Also, just wanted to talk about something that is not money, because this video is 100% focused on money, and I think that should have been apparent from the start. But that's it for me. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm not going to ask you to do anything here, so thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.